Bulleen, speaking of legends, well, we weren't, but we will, legends of Australian soccer. We've got one with us tonight. Fair dinkum, folks. We talk about the Socceroos of the current day, but one of the all-time greats is sitting next to me. I hope I've pandered to his ego just enough. Peter Ollerton, the coach of Bulleen. How are you, Pete?
Very well, Greg. Good evening, Paul.
Welcome to the show.
Mate, I'm sorry to bring you in on probably which is a bit of a dirty weekend for you. Your first defeat in 13 games at Bulleen, but it's been a terrific run since you moved in at the Veneday Club.
Yeah, it's been really, really good. Today, we had a few changes in the side, Greg. Conditions not the best. But all in all, I thought the first half we competed very well. They scored 2 goals from 2 dead ball situations. Billy Tiakos come off just shortly after the off time, and he just unbalanced the side a little bit, not being there. But full credit to Albion. They provided the goods on the day, and good luck to them.
And I mean, they really wanted it, didn't they, Albion? It was critical to their chances of getting into the top 5.
Yes, I mean, looking at the result, you know, it wasn't a good result for us, but I think if we could have got a point out of it, it would have put us in a very good position for the 5 and would have stopped Albion's run. But good luck to Albion, they're doing well.
Peter, you had a home draw last week against Box Hill and a defeat this week. It's probably the worst couple of runs of games you've had since you've been in charge. Is there anything for the Bulleen supporters to worry about? Do you think you've gone off the rails just a bit? It's a crucial time of the season coming up, obviously, as well.
Certainly. Last week, the result really didn't show the game. I mean, obviously 4 goals in the game, 2 for Bulleen, 2 for Box Hill, but we should have won that game very clearly.
And I might just add, if I may, Pete, I don't know if you're of the same opinion, but Box Hill are playing a pretty good brand of football at the moment.
They're desperate, Greg. And when you play these sides, whether you play them at home or away, they're putting every effort in there to pick up some type of a point, 3 points if possible. And these sides down the bottom becoming very difficult.
You've had a good run in your time in Bulleen, Peter, but Port Melbourne, of course, runaway leaders of the Premier League. What are your thoughts on their chances?
Well, I've seen Bulleen once this year. That was, I think it was about the 3rd game in charge of Bulleen with Port Melbourne. We drew 2-2. We were winning 1-0 and then winning 2-1. Penalty against us, and they scored the equaliser in the 94th minute of the game. And it was a very, very good game, but I think we can compete against them.
Bulleen, Peter, you mentioned earlier in the year when you moved into the club that you had a situation, and I'll try and paraphrase you correctly, paraphrase is the word I'm looking for, that there was a few fellows at the club that had hit the comfort zone. Good players. I mean, Bulleen has been the definitive power club in the 90s in the Premier League, but there was a few blokes there perhaps getting a bit fat cat and lazy.
Well, I agree with you fully there. Obviously, it was very difficult for me to walk in and get rid of 3 or 4 players. What I did do is change the side around, try and get a good balance in the side. Obviously, at the end of the year, we've got to look at it overall, the squad, and see what the future lies there.
Peter, looking ahead just perhaps past the final series, there's talk of summer soccer coming to Victoria. We were talking just prior to the show, and you have some fairly clear ideas on that, or perhaps some thoughts about how the players would feel about that. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, I think if the league does happen, I think they should also talk to players, should also talk to administrators of these clubs, because obviously it'd be a full-time proposition for players. They'd be playing Premier League one season, straight into a summer season, straight into another Premier League season, and it's like everything else. These players are got commitments with family. Holidays are during that time of the year in December, January. A lot of people go overseas. Young fellas are getting married and stuff like that. So obviously, it's very important that the VSF are aware of these points.
Peter, if I can just mention, Peter Ollerton's not only a legend in terms of his situation going to West Germany. Thank you for that. West Germany in 1974 with the Socceroos, but also he's going this year, Paul, for a very historic 4 in a row championships in the Victorian Premier League. Very few people know this. I mean, people in the know, like me, of course, very astute soccer people understand. But Croydon City in 85, 86, Pete had a little bit of an absence there, an enforced absence from soccer. Came back, coached Preston to the championship last year, and this year, if you can get Bulleen up, Pete, that's not a bad record, 4-4.
Well, it'd be fantastic if we can achieve that, Greg. Obviously, there's a long way to go, but I think we've got a chance.
Blakey, only you would, the master statistician of the Premier League, would be able to come up with some
Mate, I'm a
figures
sick
like that.
individual. I don't have a social life. I just sit at home and pilfer through all these figures. So I've got to have a long, hard look at myself. I think we're going to take a sponsors break. We are. Pete, sit with us. And good luck to Bulleen. Thanks for coming in tonight.
Great, no problems.
We'll be back in a moment on The Soccer Show with more stuff.